let's call this to order. 1.1, call to order open session. Open session of the June 21st, 2023 Governing Board of Trustees meeting is called to order at 4 p.m. 1.2, public input concerning items on the closed session agenda. We will now call members of the public who have requested to address the governing board regarding items during closed session agenda. Is there any public input concerning an item on the closed session agenda? There is not. And then we will 1.3, adjournment into closed session. We'll be in closed session to consider the following matters. 2.1, evaluation of employee. Evaluation of performance of a public employee, 54957B1. One matter is identified on the agenda. 2.2, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to 54956.9B. One potential case. One matter is identified on the agenda. 2.3, conference with labor negotiator, government code section 54957.6, unrepresented employee, assistant superintendent, business services, agent negotiator, or president. One matter is identified on the agenda. 2.4, conference with labor negotiator, government code section 54957.6, unrepresented employee, assistant superintendent, instructional services, agent negotiator, or president. One matter is identified on the agenda. 2.5, conference with labor negotiator, government code section 54957.6, unrepresented employee, assistant superintendent of instructional services, agents negotiator, or president, public employment appointment, government code section 54957, title assistant superintendent of instructional services. One matter is identified on the agenda. 2.5, conference with labor negotiator, government code section 54957.6, unrepresented employee, assistant superintendent of instructional services. 2.5. Okay, my bad. We'll move on. 2.6, consider personnel issues, government code section 54957, public employee appointment, principal, Sycamore Ridge School. One matter is identified on the agenda. And 2.7, consider personnel issues, government code section 54957, public employee employments of principal, Carmel Del Mar School. One matter is identified on the agenda. Board will now adjourn into closed session at 4:03. Thank you all for waiting. Appreciate it.
Yay, I fixed it!
Sorry for looking late. We are at 3.1. We're reconvening open session. We're reconvening open session at 6:24 p.m. By law and board policy, I must notify you that this meeting is being recorded. By law and board policy, any member of the public may address the board on an item on the agenda or any non-agenda item. But the public must present a written request to the board. Therefore, I ask you to kindly submit your speaker slips at this time to help us run an efficient meeting. Speaker slips for non-agenda items need to be turned in prior to item 4.2, hearing of the public regarding non-agenda items. You'll be recognized and called to the podium at that time. You'll have 3 minutes to address the governing board.
What's it called?
For those individuals who wish to comment on a particular agenda item, your speaker slip will need to be turned in by item 5.7, hearing of the public regarding agenda items. You'll be recognized and called to the podium when your requested agenda item comes up. You'll have 3 minutes to address the governing board. 3.2, report an action taken in closed session. Governing board met in closed session and there is nothing to report. 3.3, pledge of allegiance and welcome. We'll now welcome Secretary Clerk, Ms. Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
3.4, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Motion to approve the agenda passes. 4.1, correspondence.
Good evening, the Superintendent's Office received the following correspondence regarding district business on these topics: curriculum, personnel, parents thanking the district and teachers for a great year, transitional kindergarten, Delmar Heights School Project, school placement, and summer programs. Thank you.
All right, we're at 4.2, hearing in public regarding non-agenda items. All members of the public who have requested to address the governing board regarding items that are not on the agenda. Members of the public would like to address the governing board regarding non-agenda items, please the speakers at this time. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Technically, we're over again, so can I get it's we have 7 speaker slips. Can we get a if we're allowed 20 minutes? Can we get motions? Extend the time.
I motion.
Okay. Second, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. All right, and I'll just take them in order. So first we have Monica Sorensen, and after her will be Jessica Reese.
Good evening, President Mock, esteemed members of the board, Dr. McClure, and cabinet members, and everyone who is here to support the students in Delmar. I'm Monica Sorensen. I teach 3rd grade at Delmar Hills Academy. And at Delmar Hills Academy, we have a wonderful tradition of presenting keynote awards to people who are doing a remarkable job and who have aligned their actions with their values in support of our students and in support of our community. And tonight, I'd like to give a keynote award to Principal Andrea Skeet. And I'd like to recognize her for 3 of our keys, although she lives all of them. I first want to recognize her for her integrity. And also, I do want to say thank you for this opportunity to speak in class. Thank you. I want to recognize Principal Sleep for her integrity. To have integrity requires great clarity in aligning every decision with our top priority, and that top priority is to do the best for all of the students in our school, now and in the future, always with an eye on everyone's future. This is our North Star, and Andrea really models this every day. I have personally seen Andrea support students with challenging issues around diversity, fairness, equity, inclusion, and safety. And when she does, they know that she's there for them. Andrea conducts thorough investigations when there are issues, and the students understand that that's what she's doing. They understand that she's being responsive and that she's very invested in supporting everyone and getting to the right result to be able to help every child, even the child who might need support to make adjustments in their behavior. The kids appreciate her and they know she really cares, and the reason I know that is I see them fill out keynote awards to her, and she doesn't ever read them on her morning announcements, but they're there in the box. And so I appreciate that she takes action to show how much she cares for our kids. The second key is commitment. Commitment really requires perseverance and consistency, no matter the complexity of the issue, the weight of the task, or the messiness of it. Andrea enlists the right supports. She collaborates with us, the teachers and the staff, and she sticks with it. Her moral compass would never allow her to do less. And I know that she is always there for me and for my kids in my classroom and for all the children at Delmar Hills. The last key is balance, and Andrea has the ability to strive and achieve balance at our school because it requires seeing what's important, the big picture, and taking sometimes very extraordinary steps to bring us back to our focus on the joy of what we're doing with the kids. Even when there are distractions or obstacles, she doesn't let it take us off task. She takes a breath. She focuses on our vision for our children, and she makes it a good day for everyone. I really appreciate Principal Sleet, and because she is receiving a keynote award, I have a gift for her.
Thank you. Your time is expired.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Next is Jessica Reese, and then following that, Sandra Martinez.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, faculty, and everybody that's attending, fellow parents and teachers. I'm here to speak on behalf of Principal Fleet. I'm a parent of two wonderful kids, well, one now. My daughter graduated 6th grade. I have some amazing photos with her and Principal Fleet. But my son is in 3rd grade, going into 4th. He had Ms. Thornton this last year and Ms. Martinez. And my son struggled. He struggled really bad this year. He has ADHD. He was placed on an IEP. He was identified in his class to have said that he did not want to be here anymore because he was having some troubles with students. Sorry, I'm going to be emotional because it's my baby. And had it not been for Principal Fleet and her wonderful team that she develops and encourages to maintain to do the standards that they need to do, like, my son would not be where he is right now. My son is getting the proper education and emotional support at that school. And I deploy in September. I'm active duty military. I deploy, and I know that when I leave and I'm gone for an entire year away from my kids, that these women are going to be there to support him. And knowing that makes me be able to do, thank you, makes me feel like I can do my job in the military and not worry that when I'm gone, something's going to happen to my son. So when Principal Fleet asked me if I would be willing to come talk, she actually thought I knew what was going on. I was volunteering at one of the events at the school, and she seemed upset. I thought it was personal, like something happened with a family member or something. And she is like, oh, you know, would you be willing to speak on my behalf? And I was like, sure. I mean, like, are we getting an award? What are we doing? And she said, no, there's been, you know, people have said that they don't have a vote of confidence. I'm like, I will be there because I have the utmost confidence in her and the team that she has made at that school to be there for me as a support system for my son when I cannot be. And that says a lot to me. And I don't need the full 30 seconds. I will give that back to somebody else if they need it, but they have my utmost confidence to be there for my family when I cannot be, so thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sandra Martinez, and following that would be Joanna Tang.
Can I get her 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Sandy Martinez. I'm an ed specialist. I've just finished up my 22nd year in this district. I'm very fortunate that while being, especially at Del Mar Hills Academy as an ed specialist, that I have been able to support a lot of the schools in the district, if not all of them. And I've actually worked alongside of almost all the principals in the district as well. So I'm very blessed that I've had that experience. And I know a good leader when I see one and when I work with one. So first of all, I really want to say that how much I appreciate this group of leaders here and being able to listen to us the way you did last year and making the changes so quickly that you did. We all really felt very heard by you, and we just appreciate you all so much. So thank you, and we feel it. Secondly, I really want to applaud one of my favorite principals, no offense, because a lot of you have been my principals before, but Andrea Sweet really is one of my favorites. She and I started working together many years ago, which is crazy because we're only 21. But as a special education teacher, a lot of my students really face a lot of adversity. They struggle. There's a lot of hurdles in their path. And watching Andrea work with my students over the years just made me realize how talented she really is. Her teaching is among the best. Her leadership is very inspiring. She loves and she cares for her students deeply, and she always sees the good in people, first and foremost. That's really who she is to the core. So now that she's my principal, yay, and she's part of my special ed team, I work with her every single day. And those characteristics that I see, or that I saw as her as a teacher, I see those in her as a principal as well. And I think that even in the most difficult of circumstances, I see that those characteristics even become stronger. She really lives her life with integrity. And as a principal, she respects the authority that she has, and every decision that she makes, she takes such careful consideration, especially when it impacts student safety, the well-being of students, and she's extremely consistent. The last few years have been hard on everybody. Personally, I lost my husband, I didn't lose him, he passed away. And I had my third lumpectomy when he was in the ICU. And so just knowing that life is harder than ever before, I'm so blessed to have Andrea there for me. She makes me a better educator. She really makes me the best version of myself, and I'm so appreciative. My daughter, who's 19, was in her 3rd grade class, and I asked her as I was running out the door, tell me, I want you to reflect on Mrs. Sleet and tell me what you remember, what you feel. And she said, Mrs. Sleet didn't give up on me. She didn't overlook me. She saw my potential. She saw everyone's potential. She cared deeply about her students and saw the gifts within each of us. She helped me focus and helped me change my mindset about failure. Mom, she changed my life, and I'm out here killing it now. Oh, and she said, don't say that part. But anyway, she really says she lives with integrity and she walks the talk.
Oh, thank you. Your time has expired.
She appreciates her very much.
Thank you very much. Joanna Tan, and after would be Trustee Kholos. I apologize. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Joanna Tan. I have a daughter at Delaware Hills who just finished 2nd grade, and I want to express my gratitude to Principal Sleet tonight because she has been really just a fantastic leader and a big reason why my child goes to school every day with immense joy. She's courteous, she's kind, she helped us through a difficult COVID year, and I think she exemplifies the leadership and really like building a fantastic community at the Hills. So really grateful to you, Principal Sleet. And I also wanted to just read something from a parent who recently left the district, who moved out of state, Susan Stanford, who could be here tonight. She had also twins, Stephen and Sophia, who were in our classroom this year. She was also a member of the PTA, and she especially wanted to commend Andrea on handling some difficult behavioral situations with her son, who had some challenges, and that Principal Sleet held the utmost professionalism in helping him through such difficult situations, being very committed to the family, and addressing the concerns. And Susan's also was a former PTA member of the PTA for the last 2 years, so we should express your gratitude to you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Christy, and then following will be Shelley Sam.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Christine Sidonio, you did get that right. Parent of 2 active students at Delmar Hills Academy. I want to thank and recognize our staff at the school. My intention of speaking tonight is to highlight our principal, Andrea Sleet. Thank you for another wonderful year. When I was in elementary school, we rarely saw the principal. They were always in meetings, too busy aside from maybe an assembly or an event. But Principal Sleet, she is quite the opposite. She is present and available. She not only knows children with their parents by name, she prioritizes appropriately and goes above and beyond. Personally, having come from a leadership role with Amazon, where most shifts are no less than 300 people, I'm the first to say that it's lonely at the top. You're not always going to be loved by all, nor understood when decisions are made, why they're made. Also, when priority cases are underway, they're confidential for a reason. Once closed, most should not question why those decisions were made, demanding recourse for someone or answers to others. But business must run, including a school district. The families in this district I am friends with. Once our administration is open and listens, which allows voices to be heard, for which I am thankful. In my 3 years with the school, I have personally received calls from Principal Sleet. Oh no, she's calling again. It's after 4. Because something occurred that day. If my child was involved with an incident being researched or was treated wrongly, Principal Sleet would personally reach out to provide assurance, and I know she not only cares, but does not tolerate wrongful behavior. Is this an expectation that all parents have? When Principal Sleet goes above and beyond, I worry parents are now accustomed to this level of service. because they have felt that it's now the norm. I realize this service exceeds the job requirements of a principal. Andrea Sleet, I want to thank you for going above and beyond. I am comforted knowing when issues occur in the classroom, I trust the teacher to notify me. If something happens during recess, the school counselor can reach out. It doesn't always have to be Principal Sleet. I also expect my own children to tell me what's happening at school, and that's like pulling teeth, but Principal Sleet is aware, present, and committed. From my experience, she has given herself to a level that has always put the students and the families above herself. I personally look forward to 4 more years at the Hills. Thank you, Principal Sleet, for your relentless pursuit to providing our children the best education with the tools you have been given, and then some. You have exceeded my expectations. I look forward to 4 more years with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley Sim, and Dr. Logan Joanna.
Can you hear me okay? I wasn't planning on speaking tonight because I spoke at the last meeting in May about our family's experience with our children and other children being pulled into meetings, private meetings, told to make statements about other students' misconduct, with the school not notifying the parents about these meetings, even when we've asked that they not occur during class time. I also spoke about the fact that my children and others have been asked to make certain statements about other students' misconduct, and that when we, the parents, have asked for a copy, we've been ignored. We haven't even received a reply to our emails. Since then, I've learned that this year, our school, Del Mar Hills, was one of the few schools in the district that did not receive the California Distinguished Schools Award. The reason, and it's published by the California government, is that we are the smallest school in the district. We had the highest number of suspensions. And those suspensions were disproportionately doled out to students of color. 2/3 of the students who were suspended were students of color, whereas 2/3 of the student population was white. For example, in this past year, Principal Sleet suspended more than twice the number of Asian students than the rest of the California state average. And it's shocking to me that these numbers exist. And I just wanted to provide another aspect. I didn't realize that many people were asked by Principal Sleet to speak on our behalf. But I wanted to provide some statistics and some context as to why parents are so upset, and let you know that the state of California has even noticed and hasn't awarded our small school the distinction that is awarded to other schools. Thank you.
And finally, we have Joanna Salt.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Joanna Skolnick, and I'm a parent at Del Mar Hills Academy and part of the community for the last 8 years. I have a master's in school counseling, and I have been working in the special ed department as a substitute for the last 2 years. I have experience in multiple other districts and have worked with several principals. As long as Andrea has been the administrator at the school, one of my children has always been a student there, and I have had multiple days of employment under Andrea's administration. Working with Andrea, I have witnessed firsthand her commitment to the students, staff, and families of Del Mar. She has been a strong, positive leader for our students and has great rapport with the families and staff in our district. In fact, comparing her performance to other principals in the district, I feel that Andrea is a very strong leader and consistent with her commitment to the roles and expectations of our district. I feel that these accusations are inconsistent with her performance that I have personally observed. My qualifications as a parent and as a special ed substitute give me a unique perspective on Andrea's role at Del Mar Hills Academy. I came here today to tell the board that I fully support Andrea in this role, and I hope to see her return for the following school year. Thank you.
Thank you. We're moving on to one
The highlight of my month since the last meeting was the promotion ceremony. So I had the honor of going to Oceanair, where both of my children attended, my wife worked, and I knew so many of the parents and families that were there. I gave a very similar speech to what I did the last time I spoke there. But again, it's just so heartwarming to see the energy with these sixth grade students moving on to their next phase, and just the connection and commitment to their teachers. On more business-related topics, I'm still in the process of getting back up to speed on all of the district staff and processes, and I've started a cadence that I referred to before, where typically after a board meeting, I'll sit down with staff to understand the issues that were raised, a lot of during public comment. I take it very seriously that we represent you to understand the issues that are facing you and make sure that we are having a process to follow up with the district staff and the site staff. And so you have my commitment that I will continue to do that. And I've been very pleased with the candor of the staff in listening to my questions, no matter how naive they might be or even sensitive, because you know, it's a hard job to run a school district. I recognize that, but we also need to hold each other accountable as a governance team. So I appreciate the commitment to the staff to be very open and honest with me. I'll be continuing my orientation sessions with different departments. I think the next one up, Chris, I'll get to visit with you, so I appreciate the opportunity to get reacquainted with budget process and your staff and all of the other areas that are under your domain. And finally, I also listen very closely to not only the community members, but other fellow board members on issues such as transitional kindergarten. And so I've started my outreach to other districts and other board members at districts to understand their perspective of why they don't have it, why they do have it, why was it easy to add, why was it not easy to add, and some of the shared issues that we have with budget priorities. Oftentimes it does come down to finances and budget priorities. So again, I have a commitment to the community to research it appropriately so that we can make some good decisions about what priorities we make.
Yeah, I spoke at Ashley Falls, where my kids went. My wife didn't work there though. And it's always just a great deal of exciting energy that comes from these kids as they look up to you. And I'm thinking, I don't know if it's thinking correctly, that they're listening to me because they're so excited about moving on. But I hope that my words got through to them and hopefully inspired one person, because if I did, then it was a successful talk. I also had a meeting of the North City West Facilities Finance District, which is something that a committee that I've been on, and I was once again elected to chair that group. And I'm happy to report that once again we'll be able to bring back some overrun money from that. I think it's going to be in the $220,000 range, something like that, and that'll happen at the next meeting. I also attended the last of the strategic planning sessions, and I'm anxious to see how that all congeals. I went to, I think, 3 or 4 of those, and the problem was that we couldn't all go, so I went sporadically, so I didn't really get to see the whole picture. So I'm able to see a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there, and I'm anxious to see the final product. And to your point about transitional kindergarten, and certainly to Catherine's point about transitional kindergarten, we think, you know, this is not something that is going to, just go away. So why not, let's address it right on, face front. When I first got on the board, we had some budgetary issues with this back in 2010. I think we all remember the budgetary issues we had in 2010. And the board formulated a task force that consisted of board members, teachers, community members, and frankly others that might be able to help in determining whatever issues we're trying to overcome. In conversations I had with Catherine, she said she'd spoken to some of these other basic aid type districts that were able to put on transitional kindergarten, and that perhaps they had some of the same issues that we have. So I thought maybe this task force concept might be something we can implement with regard to transitional kindergarten. I don't know the details of it, I'm just kind of spitballing here, but if we have a task force that works towards maybe finding a way, a pathway to having it happen, or at least present what the issues that exist that are in our way, we'll at least know something more than we did before we started, and I think that's always a good thing. So I'm just voicing my support for a task force. If the others wish to move on that, I throw that out there. And finally, we have sunshine in San Diego. I'm happy to support. 73 and sunny is always a good day rather than this cloudy Seattle type of weather that we've been having. So first day of summer, and welcome to it.
Okay, for me, I'll keep it short. I spoke at the promotion for Torrey Hills. It was very lovely and inspiring. It's always such a joyful time of year, so that's a fun thing to be able to do as a board member. And I also attended with Doug the last strategic planning session, which was a bit of a culmination of the many 7 or 8 sessions that we had over time. So tonight we'll see the final product, and then we've already looked at it in the board documents, but I'm excited to have been a part of that. Thanks to everybody who participated.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Well, I'm excited that I have two kids of mine have moved on to, one's going into 3rd and one's going into 1st grade. I can't believe it. So it's an exciting end of year for me as a parent in the district. And I had the opportunity and great honor and pleasure to speak at the Sage Canyon promotion. It's always just really heartwarming and touching to see our 6th graders move on from the district. And yes, I'm of course all in favor of a task force to talk and discuss about universal transitional kindergarten and outreach with all the districts across the state that are like ours, basically, that are implementing the program and with our community and staff.
I will be short as well. I attended the promotion at Civic Sky. I wanted to go good because it was the first one, and it was as awesome as expected. I always enjoy them. Kids were great, and it will be a tradition for them to continue on in the future, and it'll be wonderful. I also wanted to mention that I believe this is Shelley's last meeting with us, and I just wanted to say in front of the board that we appreciate all the work that you've done for this district in the last, I believe, 18 years that you've been here. You've been a wonderful voice, and you've been, I love your kindness and your warmth and your informative presentations. So I really appreciate all the work that you've done here, and I wish you the best of luck in your new role. So thank you so much, Shelley. Next, we have Superintendent Clifton, 5.2 Board Superintendent's report.
Thank you. We did have our final strategic planning meeting, so that was exciting to see that, the culmination of that, which I'll be speaking about in a little bit here during this meeting. 6th grade promotion, every school is fantastic. Thank you for being involved with that. We met with our DMUSD president for the last time for this year, so that was great. And Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then I have one more thing after that. So if you could introduce us to some of our new administrators, that would be fantastic. Ryan Stanley, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Yes, thank you. So one of my favorite things that we're able to do is to make sure within HR that we are bringing in the absolute best, highest caliber folks to be able to come in and help support our students, support our staff, support our families, support our communities. And so today it is my privilege to be able to recommend two of our new principals for our district. So first, I'm going to go ahead and invite Dr. Patrick Effman to come up and join me. So I'm excited to be able to introduce Dr. Patrick Heflin as the next principal of Sycamore Ridge Schools. So Dr. Patrick Heflin, throughout her career, has served as a teacher, as an assistant principal, as a principal, and most recently where she has served as the principal and superintendent for the Julian School District for the last 7 years. Throughout the interview process and through checking references and other steps of her process, it was very clear to see that Dr. Heflin, she's known for her positive energy, her collaborative nature, and you just can't help but notice the warmth that she exudes whenever she's talking to anybody. And so I know Dr. Heflin cannot wait to be able to start at Sycamore Ridge School. Sure.
Good evening. I want to first and foremost thank Dr. McClure. Thank you for having confidence in me and welcoming me to be part of your team. I want to thank the board members for embracing me. I am so excited to be here. I know the kids need a break during the summer, but I hope that once I'm back in the office, I'm looking forward to the families and the kids just popping their heads in just to say hello and introduce themselves. So please share the information that once we're back and we're in the school, I would love to meet my families and my kids. Thank you again for your confidence.
And I'm also very excited to be able to introduce to you this evening Mr. Francisco Rivera. So Mr. Rivera has been selected as the new principal of Carmel Del Mar School. So Mr. Rivera, he's also served in several roles during his career in education, where he's had an opportunity to be a teacher, a literacy teacher on special assignment, as an assistant principal, and then most recently, Franklin has served as the principal in the Vista Unified School District. So throughout this interview process as well, it's been very clear to see how Mr. Rivera is highly regarded for his collaborative approach, for his positive relationships with students, with families, and with staff, and he's certain to serve the entire CEQA community very well.
Well, just thank you so much. My name is Frankie Rivera. I just wanted to extend my sincere appreciation to all the members of the board, the trustees, to Dr. McClure and your wonderful team and her cabinet, just for entrusting me with this significant and meaningful responsibility. I am truly just honored, privileged, excited to be part of this organization, and I'm really eager just to get started and make just that meaningful contribution to CDM and to work and serve really just on behalf of our students, parents, and our staff and community. So just thank you so much for the opportunity.
Welcome to both of you. We're thrilled to have you join our team, and your communities are going to be so excited to meet you. So that will be a wonderful welcome in about a month. So we're very excited. And yes, as board member or board president Mark shared, it is our dear colleague Shelley Peterson's last board meeting. And I have to tell you, it is bittersweet to talk about Shelley at this board meeting. I have worked with Shelley from the beginning of my time in this district, and I can tell you she is a visionary leader of the highest quality. Shelley loves people, and she loves families, and she adores children. She will always do what's right. She has courage beyond measure, and she is a dear, kind friend to everyone who's lucky enough to call her one. As I said, she started out her career in our district. Before that, she was in Vista. When she came here, she was the principal at Ashley Falls School. Highly successful, beloved. We were then fortunate enough to add her to our team at the district office when I started in this position. I will tell you there are things in this district that would not be here if it were not for Shelley. I'm going to name a few, because the impact that she has had is immeasurable. Our children are fearless mathematicians because of Shelley. Her vision and her leadership with her conceptually based mathematics, and her care and love for every teacher and their success throughout that entire period
of helping us be the very best at creating mathematicians we could be was just remarkable. We went through a series of adoptions while Shelley was here. Everyone handled beautifully the process, the system, the communication, the end result. Most recently, Amplify Science. Before that, Wonders English Language Arts. We most recently have gone through History Social Science, which we'll hear about tonight. In the midst of COVID, Shelley pulled off what is no short of a miracle. Shelley implemented our Spanish immersion program, led the entire effort to see what the board's vision was and do the research, the planning, the preparation, the implementation. Absolutely incredible. Our children are thinkers like we never before imagined. When we set out with District Design 2022, we knew we wanted to have this deep thinking of our children and to have now be creating cultures of thinking in ways like we've never done before. Truly is Shelley's leadership. Shelley's understanding of the essential elements of instruction and what good teaching and learning is incredible. Our environments have been transformed and continue to be because of Shelley's vision, her work with teachers. Our kids are not simply doing worksheets, they think. They have agency. Our environments lend themselves to that, to all of the things that we know is best and right for making sure that it adapts to different learning modalities and that all children's genius is appreciated. Shelley has done an exceptional job leading our diversity, equity, and inclusion work, unlike anywhere else. The fact that we are coming out of this as a community united, as people working together and having the right conversations and being brave to actually learn from one another and come to a better understanding of one another. Shelley, you develop relationships with people, you care about people, your talent, your leadership, your regard for everything is really immeasurable. I have to tell you, one of the things that stands out is also how much you have been invested in our district and in everyone here, 100%. Every day you have shown up, you have given of yourself. You love our district, you love our teachers, you love our staff, the families, and like I said, most importantly, the students. I cannot thank you enough for everything you've done as a principal in this district and also as our assistant superintendent for so many years. We are changed for the better because of you, and we know you will do fabulous things in your next district. They are awfully lucky to get you. Thank you, Shelley.
If I could say just a couple of words. Thank you, Dr. McClure. It's very humbling to hear all of those things said about you because leadership doesn't happen in a bubble, and it's only because of the incredible team. I've had the opportunity to work with incredible individuals over many years. Dinah Brown with mathematics, Jessica Morales in our environment, Sarah leading our two very significant adoptions, Vivian Firestone and her work with all of our data and assessment and the Wonders adoption many years ago. The incredible teachers, the incredible principals that we have throughout this district. It really is shared leadership. It's an incredible cabinet. This is the finest group of people I've ever had the opportunity to work with. And under Dr. McClurg's leadership, we wouldn't be where we are as a district without her vision and her leadership. And it has been an incredible pleasure to work here for almost 18 years. I love this place very much. I will greatly miss the wonderful, talented people here. And wish nothing but the best. I know great things to come still. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on to 5.3, hearing of the public regarding agenda items. If anyone would like to address the governing board on a particular agenda, your speaker slip will need to turn at this time. You recognize and call the podium when your requested agenda item comes up. You'll have 3 minutes to address the governing board. 5.4, board approval, meeting minutes for the
May 24th, 2023 meeting. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Second. Is there a second? Second. Motion to approve all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved passes. 6 point, okay, we're on the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they would like to pull out to vote on separately? 6.3, okay, are there any other things? Very quick questions? Okay, so I just had a quick question, actually, nothing regarding the vote, but let's see where. Just a quick question, response to 6.5, Chris, regarding Pacific Sky. When we complete it, is there some sort of warranty or something on the school? I'm just kind of curious, like if we, so if there's like, is there like something like dead trees or something like that?
Yeah, there are various warranties on different parts. Things like your roof will have, say, a 20-year warranty versus landscaping and other things is certainly not 20 years. But we have warranties. Those have been handed over. Trainings on all of the different items in use, like HVAC systems and things in our kitchen. So yes, we have those. Yes, we will be monitoring and working with Erickson Hall over those first couple of years should we have warranty claims.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Just want to make sure before we sign off that we got some kind of guarantees there that in case anything goes wrong. Great. And I think that's it for me. So taking out 6.3, is there? I mean, if you'd like, I just didn't want to make it too complicated.
I think that's fairly standard practice, to go through and then there's questions, rather than just sitting here and voting on them.
Yeah, how many, which questions, which numbers do you have questions? No, I'm just asking my questions.
I'm sorry, I'm asking, are we going to go through each consent item? And
No, the idea is to go through it quickly, so I was just trying to, if there are numbers that you would like to talk about, I was just wondering which ones did you want to talk about?
6.3, 6.4.
So, how about we go over all the other consent items? We said 600 and 6.4. Is there a motion to approve those? Yes. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I know that this was addressed last board meeting, but I do have a question on the 6.9 as well, just to get clarification on it.
Yeah. No motion to, do you want to pull that out?
I just could ask that question.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the only contractor that provided the bid.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess we're back on the same motion, 6.3, 6.4 out, and then we're just all in favor? Aye. Okay, 6.3.
Okay, so if, we're looking at the revolving cash, I just see a lot of, what is the parent guardian refund? What else? Expenses, the parent guardian refunds, there's a lot of them.
So those are all related to our after-school program and enrichment programs. At a certain point, parents have not requested refund. We send a final notice saying that should you not request refund, then the result is that by code that it would be donated back to the district. So then we, that's often at the point in time when we get the, yes, we would like that money back, and then we write a check for the amount that has been basically put into that account for after-school program enrichment. So these are all refunds. You'll notice that all of them are $6,300 at the beginning. That's the Fund 63, which is the enterprise fund for after-school programs enrichment. So all refunds to parents for monies that they had put into the account and had not yet expended.
How were they notified?
I believe they're notified via email through our after-school program department.
Okay. And then they just reply and say, yes, we want our refund.
Correct, because you may be continuing with the program, so you don't want it refunded at a certain point because you would like to use it fully.
Could you just kind of explain how they're overpaying in the first place?
So most of these are from COVID. So there were, say, programs that they were planning to use and then they decided not to, and so they had extra funds in there for a service that they originally wanted to pay for and didn't use.
Okay, so this is all pretty.
And we've had a number of these over the last couple of months because during COVID, that's when we ended up with these overpayment numbers. We've, over time, done some notifications and we're at a point where we need to be able to finalize and close the accounting on it. And so we are now having a fair number that we're paying back.
Okay. I think the purchase order list is my next question, which is also 6 point. I'm sorry, I'm being confused with my screen. Contract list, that's also on 6. So this is what I brought up, keeping on with 6.3, the commercial warrant listing. I think that the public has been asking, and what I asked you guys last month and during my board member conversations with Dr. McClure is to not only include warrant numbers, but also the payee who we're issuing these warrants to. I still don't see that on this.
Chris, do you want to explain how the warrant process works?
Sure. So the warrants are payments based on the purchase orders that have been approved by the board. So a list of purchase orders that are approved approve the amount of money that can be spent on an item. So each of those purchase orders creates the purchase order which can be billed against, and then we give an update on total billing that has been paid out by the district with our warrant list. So it is not atypical to have a list of your purchase orders, and they're all listed out. The board approves them, and then we're giving the board an update as to the fiscal impact of the warrants or the payments that we've done in the different funds that we oversee.
Just for transparency, is it not, something like, you could insert a column between warrant numbers and the fund and just say who you're issuing the payment to? Is that, just so we kind of.
It wouldn't fit as another column. There are a number of different warrants that are listed. So we have, in the first
I see.
row, you have
warrants within the first row.
How much money are required to list?
Please refrain from speaking from the public.
It's clarifying the law.
Please.
What is supposed to happen on a school board that goes.
Excuse me.
Okay, so within those numbers of warrants, you've got money coming from Fund 1. Is that one warrant right there?
So we have in the warrant dates from May 1st, we have 8 warrants that cover different amounts in those different funds. So we have them by date and the number of warrants that we have issued, which basically each one's a check that is paid. So there are multiple warrants in each date there.
Okay. So, ballpark estimate, how many warrants are within this entire spreadsheet? Hundreds? on the contract list, you do delineate, or on the bank card transactions, you've got who the payee is. If that's possible to add also to the board list, I think that it would be helpful.
And part of the reason we do that with the bank cards is because the board hasn't approved a PO for each of those. So it's the first time the board is approving those items. You're approving the payment of the bank card, whereas you have approved the POs that are then being warranted against.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. It's just helpful to track our spending.
I'd be happy to look into what some neighboring districts are doing.
And then I had a question also, now I guess it's.
Maybe that's 6 1 or still 6 1. Yeah, I think that one says 6 1.
I don't know, sorry, I don't think.
Are you finished with 6 3?
Figuring that out right now. Okay, so it's the contract list, so, that is on. I don't know which one is the contract list.
6.4.
Oh, 6.4? I don't see it, okay, yeah, okay, so 6.4 contract list, I just had a question, what is the language interpretation services with the Global Village? You know, I don't know what that is.
I just wanted to.
So that is interpretation services. So when we have a need for an interpreter in, say, an IEP or another meeting, then we contract for interpreters to come in and support our families.
Okay, how often are we using that?
We use it in IEPs, and sometimes we use them in parent-teacher conferences. So I don't have an exact, how often we use them, but it is used fairly regularly for meetings like those.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Can we move to approve 6 3? Okay.
Move to approve.
Okay.
And 6-4?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything on 6.4, my apologies.
Okay.
Or no, there wasn't.
Can we move to approve 6 3 and 6 4?
Yes.
Okay, motion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Okay. At 7.1, board approval adoption of the history social science curriculum with Sarah Rassi.
Good evening. Happy to introduce this item. Sarah has led an amazing process this year, which she's going to go into detail about tonight. So I will turn it over to her and her team.
Thank you, Shelley. Good evening, President Mock and members of the board. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. And I'm joined by 2 members of our History Social Science pilot team, Tiffany Kinney, who teaches 4th grade at Delmar Heights, and Beth Davis, who teaches 5th grade at Torrey Hills. And tonight we'll provide an overview of a pilot process that our team underwent. Following the adoption of the Civic Learning Compendium for the California History Social Science Framework in 2016, the district began researching available California State Board of Education approved social science curricula to replace our current textbook adoption from 2001 that is aligned with these 4 key instructional shifts that you see highlighted here, and we'll go through each one. Content is the first major instructional shift, and the framework calls for a new vision in which we instruct the California History Social Science standards. It organizes grade level content around questions of significance designed to promote inquiry, incorporates the most recent scholarship, and underscores that our California students deserve to learn diverse, accurate, engaging, and nuanced material in order to better understand the past so that we make sense of the present. Thus, the framework and all approved curriculum are compliant with the Fair, Accurate, Inclusive, and Responsive FAIR Act. Inquiry is the second major shift area, and under the framework, broad questions are asked of students. These questions include such things as what does freedom mean and how does it change over time, as well as more narrow inquiries. Framing instruction around questions of significance allows students to develop content knowledge that can be contextualized and also utilized to address modern day societal issues. Really the goal here is for students to engage deeply with history social science, to do history social science as opposed to just learn about it. The third instructional shift comes under literacy. Students learn in this area how to read and write meaningfully within the content area. This is very important to a student's overall literacy development, and the framework really points out that we want to honor and really kind of couple history social science learning with English language arts. And so in this area, students are learning rich academic content vocabulary, as well as the literacy skills that are required for success in college, career, and life. And the final shift is in the area of citizenship. And the framework encourages students to understand the relationship between citizens and the state, to recognize their role as active members within their community, and to support students to learn how to read and write and think critically about our world. They become, through this process, aware of how the government functions in the abstract, and most importantly, their role in civic participation as they move forward in their lives. In the fall of 2022, the pilot team was assembled and included representative teachers from across our K-6 classrooms in all 9 school sites. During the pilot process, staff and families were also provided an overview of the program materials and the opportunity to provide and share their feedback. The objectives of the pilot included learning about the components of a high-quality history social science program that we had just reviewed, as determined by the California State Board of Education, selecting and piloting curriculum materials in the classroom and sharing feedback, and providing guidance on the next steps of the process. And through that process, the team was very clear, the pilot team, in their direction to the district, that they really wanted to find a high-quality program to be able to support our students and our teachers and have that in hand for this 23-24 school year. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Beth to share a little bit more about the process.
Good evening. There were 4 curriculums that we had the pleasure of choosing from. 4 history and social science approved elementary publishers by the California State Board of Education, with a choice between McGraw-Hill, Studies Weekly, Savas, and the Teachers Curriculum Institute. The San Diego pilot experiences in Santee and Vista were discussed by the pilot team, as well as the feedback from the San Diego County Office of Education. After much consideration, the pilot team decided to pilot Savas as well as the Teachers Curriculum Institute. In collaboration with Instructional Services, the pilot team co-created a history and social science curriculum evaluation tool to guide the selection of a history and social science curriculum that best meets the learning needs of all of our students. It addressed the instructional shifts of the history and social sciences framework and most closely aligns with the instructional frameworks within Del Mar School District, including cultures of thinking and the newly developed profile of a learner. The pilot team evaluated both programs for content, inquiry, literacy, and citizenship using a 3-point scale, as you can see here. District-wide teacher and parent feedback also indicated that programs adequately met the criteria outlined within the evaluation, but also unanimously shared that the Teachers Curriculum Institute was the preferred program. Some of the key differences are highlighted for you to see. The Teachers Curriculum Institute is compliant with the FAIR Act, providing fair, accurate, inclusive, and respectful references to persons from all backgrounds, inclusive of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, nationality, and sexual orientation. I will now turn it over to Tiffany to learn more.
Good evening. No, that was wrong. There we go. Okay. Students in our 5th grade classroom, pilot classroom, used Teacher Curriculum Institute to participate in a debate titled The Loyalists versus Colonists. And after the debate, they shared their feedback on the 2 programs. 24 of the 26 students in the classroom preferred the Teachers Curriculum Institute, and one student commented, and I quote, I like reading and researching history for the purpose of a debate. It related to the real world, like the work a lawyer does. The pilot team noted several highlights of the Teachers Curriculum Institute materials, including the opportunity for students to engage with history through a hands-on inquiry-based approach to learning, which is very similar to our Amplify Science program and aligned with our profile of a learner. Students participate in simulations that require them to assume roles and responsibilities within a team. They are learning history while also solving problems and learning important interpersonal skills. The program is aligned with our Wonders English Language Arts program curriculum, which supports the interdisciplinary learning. The digital platform is easy for teachers and our K-6 students to navigate and include the wealth of resources that are continuously updated. Materials are available in both English and Spanish to support our full complement of district programs and the K-6 continuum of learning. Our pilot team unanimously felt that the Teachers Curriculum Institute was the most favorable and supported the curriculum for moving forward student learning in the area of history, social science for the Del Mar Union School District. Thank you for listening, and I will now turn it back over to Shelley Peterson.
In addition to the work of the pilot team, they have taken a significant leadership role in seeking input and presenting to their colleagues at all school sites. And so these members of the team shared the resources, information, and the curriculum with their colleagues so that they had a chance to give informed feedback about the program as well. And so with that extensive process and the feedback from all teachers, parents, and the very extensive process led by Sarah Raskin, we are recommending to the board that they do adopt the Teachers Curriculum Institute History Alive for the period of 7 years.
Questions? Alan? So first of all, thank you for the team and the extended team that I saw that you compiled for this. I also saw that the community had an opportunity to give input, to review the curriculum as well, and provide feedback. So roughly speaking, I was curious how many people provided feedback to you from outside of the team, and if there were any concerns, what might those have been, and how did you consider those and resolve them?
We had a total of roughly about a dozen pieces of feedback, both from teachers that completed an additional survey that was identical actually to the feedback form that you saw that our team completed, as well as parents as well. And as far as the feedback, as we shared, both programs were measured as adequate. However, the only piece of consideration that went above and beyond, other than a strong preference for the Teachers Curriculum Institute on behalf of teachers, in regard to parents, was one comment regarding within the K-3 Sabbath curriculum, a question about representation in the pictures of Asian Americans and ensuring that there was more Asian American representation for the Sabbath curriculum, but we did not have any other feedback on the Teachers Curriculum Institute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was my question. Thanks, Helen.
So just given, I don't know if you are all aware what's happening in Temecula, but, they are not wanting to adopt new curriculum. Could you just speak to how the new curriculum that you are asking us to approve tonight is diverse, equitable, and inclusive?
Absolutely. So any curriculum that is approved for consideration under the California State Board of Education needs to be compliant with the FAIR Act, as we mentioned. So when we talk about FAIR, we're looking at representations across all different ethnic groups. We're talking about balanced representation of photos and historical moments throughout time, so that children can really see themselves represented in those spaces, in those experiences that we're trying to bring about in history. And as history is really, it's a mirror and a lens. It's an opportunity to look back and then look forward at what has been done and where we are now and where we can go. and to really open up opportunities for conversation. And that was something that our teachers felt that the Teachers Curriculum Institute did incredibly well, is offer those opportunities for inquiry-based conversation in the classroom. Thank you.
Any other questions? I don't have any questions of myself, but so is there a motion to approve this, to adopt the history social science curriculum? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. And we are at 8.1, board report, the California School Dashboard, local indicators, Vivian Firestone.
Not quite as Good evening. I'm happy to share with you the information about the local indicator component of the California School Dashboard. Just as a reminder, the local indicators for the dashboard are those listed in purple on this chart. You have been provided with a comprehensive report for each of these indicators. A summary of the metrics used for each indicator will be provided over the next few slides. Standard has been met when the district uses the self-reflection tools to determine current status and identifies next steps. The results of this analysis will be submitted to the California School Dashboard in the fall of 2023. And as requested previously, we will post this report to our webpage on our district website, since there's such a long period of time between this report and when it appears on the dashboard in the fall. The first indicator aligns to state priority 1, basic services and conditions at schools. This area requires that we consider if teachers were appropriately assigned. We also determine students' access to standards-aligned curriculum. And finally, we determine if we have safe, clean, and functional school facilities. Facilities are reviewed as part of an annual FIT report prepared for each school's state accountability card, or SARC, annually. All of our teachers have their base credentials. Our students have access to standards-aligned instructional materials, and also to safe, clear, and functional school facilities. And so standard was met in this area. The second local priority is a reflection on the implementation of state academic standards. We consider implementation from 3 perspectives, including professional learning, use of instructional materials, and also for supporting staff and improving the delivery of instruction. The district also reviews implementation of standards beyond the core academic standards, including health education, physical education, visual and performing arts, and world language. The final category expands on the professional learning in place for teachers and also for administrators. The reflection for each category is guided through the use of a state-provided rubric and is used to inform LCAP development. Standard has been met in this area. State priority 3 asks the district to reflect on parent and family engagement in 3 areas, again guided by a state-provided rubric. The 3 areas are building relationships with parents and families, building partnerships with parents and families specific to the area of student outcomes, and seeking input from parents and families in decision making. Standard has been met in this area. Priority 6 focuses on school climate for students. The requirement is to administer a student survey at least every other year. All students complete a social emotional wellness survey in our district, and this report focuses on the results from the DMUSD student wellness survey taken by our students in grades 3 through 6. Our students take the survey annually. Each school site includes action items on their site plans related to student survey results. And so standard has been met. The final priority asks the district to select measures which indicate whether students have access to a broad course of study. We consider the following measures. All students at all school sites have access to standards-based materials. What professional learning has been provided to support the effectiveness of the instructional program, and monitoring schedules, including ensuring that the time for PE required by the state is provided to our students. And all students in our district have access to a broad course of study. Standard is met for this priority. As I shared earlier, the full report will be published to our website and also the California School Dashboard in the fall. This concludes the presentation for local indicators. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Great, thanks. And I guess you're still standing there for 2, board approval, local control and accountability.
All right, it's my pleasure to share information regarding the proposed LCAP with you. The Local Accountability Plan, or LCAP, is a state-required plan where districts identify goals for all students. It includes actions and metrics related to those goals. Specific plan addresses state priorities and in particular outlines how students needing additional support academically or social-emotionally are supported. These are the steps that have been taken to develop and refine the proposed LCAP and the actions included in that plan. We have conducted an analysis of local state and local assessments and also the indicator data that was just shared with you. We have gathered feedback through the strategic planning process from school visits by site and also our district leadership, and also from parents, staff, and students via survey, focus groups, and district committees. We have received feedback from the San Diego County Office of Education additionally. We held our hearing at the board meeting in May and received additional feedback on the draft plan. This slide lists specific actions which were included in response to the feedback received from our educational partners. We have increased the number of counselors to support our students. We continue to maintain lower class size. Academic intervention support has been increased. Strategies to support families and students from diverse cultural backgrounds are included. And also professional learning for our teachers continues to be a priority and will include differentiated support and options for our teachers. Our next steps, pending adoption of the plan tonight, are to submit our plan to the San Diego County Office of Education for final review. The plan will also be posted to our district website. Thank you. This concludes the presentation for LCAP, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, so I'm wondering, sounds like the feedback you received prompted you all to hire, how many more counselors?
2 additional counselors.
Yeah, so that makes, how many do we have total?
A total of 7.
Okay. So yeah, I think we are, you know, speaking for myself, but would love to hear more about their role in the district and if we have an appropriate amount of counselors with 7 and you know, how their days are spread out and so yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, is there a motion to approve the LCAP? Second. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve the LCAP passes. Thank you. 8.3 for approval of the DMUSD strategic plan Destination 2028 with Dr. McQuarrie.
Good evening again. I'm thrilled tonight to bring forward to the board for approval our strategic plan Destination 2028. I'll share a little bit about the process tonight as well as what this new strategic plan entails. So we will go over a little bit of a review of how did this start with our priority action. Then, as I said, review a little bit of our process that we've been through, the very comprehensive, extensive process, what the community involvement looked like throughout, the components of the plan, and next steps. From the very beginning, as you know, this is very familiar with you, the board's direction was to have a collaborative process that focused on getting to this common understanding of what our district does want to achieve and how we will define that via long-range goals in order to realize our vision. The This is the priority action that we set forth to accomplish this year, and I'm happy to report that all of those things have been accomplished, and we're down at the bottom with strategic plan approval on June 21st, 2023. So you can see here the process, as I was saying, was collaborative. It started out with an open invitation to participate, any and all who wanted to be a part of it, to create a common understanding of what our district wants to achieve and what we will do in order to achieve that goal. And so here the strategic planning process had multiple phases to develop. First, the portrait of a learner, then we went through an entire process to articulate our goals and communicate it throughout. Through this process, it was driven by community input with really a lot of emphasis on elevating within the educational system itself the voice of teachers and our students. The process timeline you can see here, it's very familiar. We've revisited this throughout. Here we are on June 21st. So it started out with an orientation, and then through portrait design team meetings. Then between the portrait design process and the actual in the midst of that portrait design process, we surveyed, allowed for input from the entire community, then moved into the strategic design team after we had developed our portrait of a learner, provided an entire draft and got input on that, then had our final meeting. Some of the people in the room, a lot of the people in this room were there, and now here we are this evening. So it was great to have so much community engagement. It was, this final product is a result of that. It began in the fall, and we've had a very robust process throughout the entire school year that's led us to this product tonight. Driven by members throughout our community, of course, starting with our students whose voice was present throughout the process, parents, teachers, business leaders, citizens who came together to really start by identifying the core competencies that we seek to develop in our DMUSD leaders. So the plan components you can see here of our strategic plan Destination 2028. We have our vision, mission, and beliefs. We actually have our portrait of a learner, which was spoken about earlier. It was exciting to hear that be part of the process with our what was brought forward for the history social science adoption, and that they're thinking about those competencies, our strategic plan levers, and 5-year objectives. So I'll go over some of that right now. Our vision, mission, and beliefs, you can see here, our vision is the unrelenting pursuit of the extraordinary school experience. The vision inspires our thinking and our work, and we refer to this often. We own it, we embrace it, and we are all about extraordinary experiences for every child, every day. And so, and you can see here with our mission is to ignite genius and empower students to advance the world, and we really appreciate and look for the unique genius in every child and work toward really igniting that and making school the meaningful experience it should be for every child. So, exciting to look at our portrait of our learner. This does articulate our collective vision for these competencies that we believe all students in our system really need in order to thrive. So if you can read around this portrait here, there's adaptability, critical thinking, global citizen, emotional integrity, learner's mindset, and depth of knowledge. And you all had a chance to look at it and see it as attached to this agenda. There are descriptors for each of these core competencies that really paint a picture of what each of these areas, each of these competencies looks like in the life of a child, so that not only do we own it as adults, but our children will also own that. Then if we look at our strategic plan, it is our long-range multi-year plan that serves as our roadmap. So articulating that, what does it look like in order to provide this experience for children and develop these competencies in our portrait of a learner? We want to help make our vision come alive, and we do this through identification of really what are the areas that we're focusing on. So our work as a district begins with these 4 priority areas: learning experience, responsive and caring culture, stewardship of resources, and design influence. And you can see there's a very very specific descriptor for each of these levers, as well as defined 5-year objectives for each of these levers. So these are those long-range objectives that show us what is the roadmap that we want to achieve, how will we get there over the next 5 years for each of these levers. So as I said, we've gone through this very specific process that involved a lot of people. We've got our strategic design team that's come together with a lot of input on our strategic plan. The exciting thing is we also will have priority actions for each of our school years. So starting in 2023, 2024, we've already got priority actions articulated in large part through the work and input of that strategic design team that was involved in the actual design process. Those priority actions that we put in place for this next year will guide our work, and we'll continue to have an annual review every year on those priority actions to analyze our progress, articulate priority actions for the next year then, and then throughout the year we'll do regular updates, review our progress as we do on our priority actions. We also are looking forward to our Better Together partnership with Dr. Alan Daly and his team as we determine the metrics that we'll measure as part of determining and analyzing our progress and determining our next steps. So Better Together will do that, help us identify those metrics and that help us see what progress are we making on our strategic plan, and then including what type of culture and climate are we creating for all adults and all children within our district in order to make this happen, make this come alive, and make this the best place for every adult and every child. So we're excited about all of that, and we're very much looking forward to implementing our priority actions and starting to see some traction on making some real significant progress on those 5-year priority objectives that are identified as well. So tonight, Destination 2028, as it is now called, it was interesting to hear people start to name it. So Destination 2028 is brought forward for the board approval this evening, identifying and spelling out our next 5 years as far as our strategic plan is set into motion.
Questions?
I just want to thank you for running such a comprehensive process. What a big undertaking to involve so many people, and thank you for following the board's guidance to have it be as open and inclusive as possible. In past years, it's been more of a select group that's participated for practical reasons perhaps, but all the same, it's nice that we've had really open doors throughout the whole process. It's exciting to look through the results. I mean, we've been through, all of us, different aspects of it along the way. And so it's exciting to see where we're going to be in 5 years, and also just see how much of where we're going is already reflecting what we're doing. So congratulations on the effort to pull this together, and look forward to the next 5 years.
So in terms of the implementation, we've got the levers, we've got the different objectives over the 5 years, and then we have the priority actions that are going to be within an individual year, correct?
Yes.
So to what extent do the priority actions for a particular year within a particular lever get reflected in the priorities for individual members of staff, so that at the end of the year, if we're successful in implementing those priority actions, we can applaud, and if we're a little bit slow in making progress, we can get involved and really make the folks responsible for implementing motivated to embrace priority actions. Is there anything within the HR structure that implements this, or is it more by school side or by department?
What's wonderful about a strategic plan such as Destination 2028, it is, first of all, it was created by all of us collectively and is owned by all of us. So it only comes alive with how we all embrace those priority actions. We look at them, those are our strategies for getting us there. So what's great about our district is every school site is unique and owns different, every school site might
focus on different parts of the strategic plan and every individual based on where they are, which is what we want. At the same time, we have a collective vision and roadmap to see where we're all going. And I'll look over here too. Shelley, would you, I mean, you work so closely with all of our school sites. It does become very personalized for every individual, and we envision that moving forward.
It does, and specifically, Ellen, I think to your question about how much do we own that, those specific actions that we have within a school year, that's something that we do at a cabinet level, is review who's got the lead for a specific priority action. We talk very about where are we in that process, what are our next steps, and then it filters out, and it may involve principals, but each of us typically own those priority actions as the lead to oversee the implementation of that and the communication to others, and then we revisit those priority actions as a leadership team frequently throughout the year, get input, what are our next steps, and that's really how the work develops. And sometimes those priority actions do carry over into the next school year because they were bigger than we anticipated, or we didn't move as far along. But that's typically the process we've undergone in the past.
And then when would be the next check-in for the board in this journey for the next year to see that we're making that progress, or that it's too audacious and we need to move it into the next year?
So every board meeting, we will continue to bring forward reports on parts of Destination 2028. So it will be specific, it can sometimes be specific to a program or a particular priority action. It sometimes can be the bigger, it might be a bigger lever that we're addressing, but every board meeting we address parts of it.
Thank you.
I wanted to commend the choice of Patel. I was impressed with how they facilitated it and how this has all come together. And for those that haven't been or didn't go to any of these sessions, Colin, I thought was very good. And as we sit here on the brink of moving on to the next step of approving it, it reminds me of something that he brought up whenever he wanted to move on to the next step. He'd say double Dutch. So I would say double Dutch. Let's get to the vote.
So, I mean, I think I've already said it, but I just, going forward, hope that there's more opportunity for community engagement in different ways. I think that there was a survey sent that had families, or I don't know who had access to it, maybe it was the community at large, but they could pick from the descriptors, and then maybe it would have been nice to also include like the levers too, for all the people who couldn't make it to the meetings, and just kind of maybe more share out of what was going on. And maybe, I don't know, there was one virtual option and it was taken off the table, but I think it would have been nice to have some kind of virtual option for families too.
I do want to commend, Ryan did a beautiful job of really leading the communication out on it and making sure the website was updated. And thank you, Mr. Stanley, for after every single meeting, it was immediately updated so that if people weren't there, they knew what happened at the meeting, and then there was an announcement of the next meeting. So that was definitely part of what we tried to do, even if people couldn't be there, what is occurring throughout the process. And I think that was just a very good way of letting people know throughout what was happening.
I just want to say thank you for the whole process. It was long and a lot, and I appreciate all the people that participated. There was quite a bit of turnout in the room. So for people that want to spend 2 hours of their night on weeknight and multiple times, I appreciate those people that were there to want to participate in building their school district. So thank you all to them, and thank you all to you for putting this together. It was a very thorough process. I appreciate it. With that said, is there a motion to approve this strategic plan?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Those in favor? Aye. And the motion to approve the DMUSD strategic plan passes. Thank you. All right, 8.4, board approval of the employment agreements for Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services. Mr. Tanner.
So, good evening, President Mock, members of the board, and members of cabinet. So, it's my pleasure to be able to recommend as our next Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services, Ms. Allison Fever. After an extensive process where we looked for the right candidate to make sure that we had the right person coming into our district to help lead the work across all of our district and supporting the great work of our teachers and supporting what's happening in our classrooms for all of our students and our families. After an extensive process, we were very excited to be able to recommend Allison Fever, and so we are bringing forward her contract for approval tonight.
Okay. And then I need to go through this section here. The Brown Act was amended effective January 1st, 2017 to require the governing board prior to taking final action on an employment agreement to orally report a summary of a recommendation for the salary schedule, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits for local agency executives. The Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services is a local agency executive, and a proposed employment contract is before us this evening. The proposed employment contract is for a term of 3 years, July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. The agreement also states that the Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services will be paid an annual salary of $191,000 for the 2023-2024 school year. The Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services is eligible to receive a $5,000 stipend for an earned doctoral degree, if applicable. After completing 4 years of service as Assistant Superintendent, starting in the 5th year of service, the Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services will also be eligible to receive an annual longevity stipend equal to 4% of her annual contract salary. In addition, the Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services will receive the health and welfare benefits, which are provided to the district's administrative employees, $13,500. Other fringe benefits included within the Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services agreement include 12 sick days, 25 vacation days per year, and reimbursement for professional growth activities, travel, and actual and necessary expenses while performing day-to-day duties for the district in accordance with board policy. Is there a motion to approve the employment agreement for Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion to approve the employment agreement for Assistant Superintendent passes. Thank you very much, Ryan. You're still there for 8.5. Consider amendments to amend an employment agreement of Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services and former Assistant Superintendent of Business Services entered into on July 28, 2021 to clarify and confirm intent of the parties.
Yes, not the most elegant title, so I apologize for that. So during its July 28, 2021 regular board meeting, the board took action to amend the employment agreements of Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services, Shelley Peterson, and then Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Kathy Burks. As part of each of their respective employment agreements, the board approved, in lieu of a salary agreement or increase to the salary schedule for the 2021-2022 school year, a one-time off-schedule payment equal to 4% of each of the 2 assistant superintendent salaries that was issued during the 2021-2022 school year. CalPERS has since advised the district that clarification language is needed with respect to the one-time off-schedule 4% increase based on the 2020-2021 salary for the 2021-2022 school year that expired on June 30th, 2022. So these 2 amendments to the 2021-2022 school year employment agreements, they clarify and confirm the party's intention at the time that the one-time off-schedule 4% payment in 2021-22 to the former Assistant Superintendent of Business Services and Assistant Superintendent of Instructional Services for the 2021-22 school year, that it was in lieu of an increase to the base salaries for that school year. And I will note that these amendments, if approved by the board today, they do not result in increased additional payment to either Ms. Peterson or Ms. Works.
So it's just semantic.
It is just semantics. CalPERS was very clear in their feedback to us that they wanted clarification that the 4% especially was in lieu of an additional ongoing salary scale increase. So it's clarifying that intent.
So it's just a semantical thing, that's a clarification for CalPERS, but essentially everything was the same as at the time we originally had. Correct. And a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Ryan. 8.6, board appointments, Citizens Oversight Committee. Still next.
Good evening, Board President Locke, members of the boards. This evening we are bringing appointments for the Citizens Oversight Committee. As you know, the Citizens Oversight Committee, as members may serve 2-year terms, and then they can serve up to 3 consecutive terms. And so we have members who are coming to the end of a 2-year term, and we are recommending board to appoint them again to be members of the Citizens Oversight Committee. So we're bringing 3 members who are current members and are ending of term and would be continuing on as members. All have expressed interest.
Questions or motion to who are they?
They are Mark Magenti, Sandeep Patel, and Michelle Chen.
I'll move to extend it.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. And 9, maintenance operation facilities, 911, board report, facilities update. Chris.
Board President, members of the board, and Dr. Clerk. This evening with our facilities update, we will cover the Dalmar Academy modernization. We'll go over Dalmar Heights school rebuild, and then I have some kindergarten classroom information that was requested. So we'll start with Delmar Hills Academy modernization. And as we look at Delmar Hills Academy modernization, tonight I will speak to an item that is coming out 9.4, which is approval of the CEQA review for this project and project approval. So this is all related to CEQA. So as you may remember, in previous projects, we will do an initial study. We'll bring to the board, whether it's a mitigated negative declaration or environmental impact report, or in this case, you'll see a notice of exemption. And then after approval, then the board would approve the project. And so this is approval to move, this will be approval to move forward with the project that has been presented to the board in the past. And we gave a more extensive update in January. And the board has directed staff to move forward with at the last board meeting. So just as a reminder from our January presentation, there was structural rehabilitation work that was done, and that review of the structural and work that was done to identify necessary upgrades, and some of the work that we did through DSA to ensure that we were identifying the code improvements and the steps that were needed to be taken to do the modernization at Delmar Hills. We'll also remember this is the overview of the site plan. So the project is, as has been shared with the board in the past. This is the plan that was reviewed in January and will be in the CEQA document for 9.4. And as I've shared, this is, at this point, the trimmed down project that addresses the needed infrastructure and code compliance improvements, as well as classroom improvements that was discussed last month. As you know, the board and district staff are committed to neighborhood schools and decided to modernize Delmar Hills. And there is an impact to our overall bond program due to litigation, delays at Delmar Heights, and that, along with our analysis and work with DSA, that has caused this project to be delayed. We're also dealing with inflation and construction cost escalation at levels that we really haven't seen before. All of these are out of our control, and it's frustrating, and I understand it's frustrating to the board, and I recognize that with our conversation and my presentation at last month's board meeting. This does mean that these projects are over budget at Delmar Heights and Delmar Hills. However, this is a good project that will bring the school up to code. It will improve student learning spaces and will make Del Mar Hills a viable school now and into the future for decades to come. We will also be working on a measure and budget workshop for early and next school year to review the impacts of these delays and escalation costs in the overall bond program so that the board has all of the information necessary to make both short and long-term plans. And I'd be happy to stop if there are any questions about Del Mar Hills, because this is about the project as well, and then I specific to the CEQA item, I'd be happy to speak to that in that report. Or I'm happy to move on and talk about Del Mar Heights.
I just want to reconfirm that the proposed project does not include any portables or prefabricated structures.
That's correct. Then moving on, we'll look at Del Mar Heights school rebuild. With Del Mar Heights, as we'll keep up here, we restarted construction on March 6th of 2023, and we have an anticipated completion of May of 2024. We now have 50 plus workers on site daily. We are getting ready to pour slab on grade, which is the concrete slab at the south of the classroom building tomorrow. We'll be doing footings for the admin building and then following that with the slab on grade for the remainder of the classroom building. Moving across from the south end of the building up to the north and around to the M building, which is what they're calling the multi-use space and innovation center. And just some pictures that really illustrate actually where the pour will be. This is looking from the northeast corner, so where this is not poured concrete, this is pouring in some of the subgrade that is preparing for poured concrete. These yellow tarp is going over that and is set so the rebar is laid, and we're able to then pour the slab on grade over that at the south end. And then this just shows the, I cut it a little bit, but this shows the north end of the building, and then this is the footings that are starting to be poured, so you can really start seeing the layout of the admin building as well. It's really coming along, and it'll be exciting to see that slab on grade because you can really see the footprints, and we'll start seeing steel go up and things like that will start to define the space as well. And then kindergarten classroom information, as I was looking back, we did share in February some information related to the question last month. So this school year we had 21 kindergarten sections for 22-23. We do currently have 26 kindergarten classrooms with restrooms. Historically, we looked at this for that February board meeting. We've had a range of 21 to 25 kindergarten sections, absent the COVID year because we had launch and it sort of skewed it a little bit. So typical years we've had that range. And then with Del Mar Heights, we'll have 3 more kindergarten classrooms. So when that school opens, we'll have 29 kindergarten classrooms with restrooms across the district. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions related to the facilities presentation. Thank you, Chris.
I just want to say I drove by Del Mar Heights and check it out. It looks amazing. It's really exciting. I always love seeing construction projects come up. It's a lot of fun. And it's coming along nicely, so thank you for the work. I think you're staying there for 9.2, for approval of the encroachments and removal agreements with the city of San Diego.
So 9.2 is our encroachment and removal agreement with the city of San Diego. So the city of San Diego, with any project, especially a project of this size, there is some off-site work, and this off-site work will connect things like sewer and water and the water we need for fire suppression, pieces like that. This encroachment and removal agreement is an agreement with the city of San Diego that we will maintain the items that are being put in. And if you look at the agreement itself, it identifies these couple of items that we will be maintaining. And so those are the existing trees, irrigation, and landscaping, as well as the fire service. And so there's a caged box that is water in, that is fire service, that'll be in that. And so really this space, if you looked at the attachment, it shows that it's really the space that is just to the east of the pony wall. And when we look at that, to maintain the basic irrigation and kind of landscaping that is not a burden that the district can't take on. It is something that will allow us to move forward with the necessary piece of getting the fire, water, and items onto the project, and so we recommend the board approve.
So given the controversy over this site, have the recommendations you have here in the way that the form was completed and calling out those improvements, Were these coming from recommendations from our project leads?
This is coming from the city of San Diego. So this is a requirement to complete that, that off-site connection work.
And you've already had conversations with the city of San Diego, and they're
Yes.
all aligned with what you're proposing in this agreement?
Yeah, this is so with the big project, we have all of the permitting necessary to complete the project, and then they request this agreement to maintain, really looking at, we're putting this piece in that needs to be done to connect, and they want to make sure that we take on a little bit of maintenance on top of it to approve it.
Thank you.
So, Chris, I was just a little bit, I guess it needs clarification. Is that our school district land? It's because it's outside of the...
Sort of a unique situation because that is school district land that has been, not deeded, but has become we've agreed for the city to be able to use that space. So now it's really school district land that has been passed over to the city to do the city street and the city sidewalk that we will now be maintaining. So even though it's a city right of way now.
So essentially, it's our land, yet we're asking the city to allow us to encroach on property.
Our land, which we have given them rights to, so in essence, they have the right to that land, even though we owned it in the first place. So it's, it is a little bit unique in that, yes, we have provided that, and now we are getting the ability to use what is underneath it all our land, but they have the rights to use of that project.
And you kind of mentioned, but is it the things that are be putting there? First of all, I don't remember exactly what is there right now, the trees, and are there mature trees there?
There are a couple of mature trees. There is basically it's grass space, so it will be basic landscape maintenance, similar to next to any of our schools.
Okay, so it's like relatively minimal cost in terms of maintenance.
Yeah, we'll just be asking Shasta or whomever we have in the future doing landscaping to add that strip into the landscape maintenance.
Okay, just one quick concern, I don't know if you can address it, but like there was in terms, we assume kind of liability if there's like any kind of co-negligence on there. And one of the things that the city tends to get sued a lot for is sidewalks and having trees that trip on them. So are there any issues?
So the portion point, if you look at this, the landscape is what they're asking us to do, which doesn't get into the sidewalks. It's the landscape space, not the sidewalk space.
Are there trees that grow into it though?
There are trees that, I'd have to take a closer look. There may be some, so we'll keep a close eye then on the trees and making sure the root system and that piece of it is connected to.
I would just suggest like if you're gonna plant trees, make sure that they're trees
We
that
won't be planting any more trees, so it all is maintaining existing trees. It will not be any new planting, it will just be maintenance.
Okay, great, wonderful, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve this encroachment and removal agreement?
I'll motion. I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes, thank you, Chris. Next is 9.3, board approval of the Del Mar Heights School leaseback cost increase.
So tonight we're bringing, we've worked closely with our partners in Balfour. Beatty, unfortunately, Kholos, our Director of Maintenance Operations Facilities, had a family item that he had, so he wasn't able to be here tonight, but he worked very closely with Balfour and then with some of our other industry folks that we know to look at the cost increases they brought to us, looking at the escalation that we're seeing, and then cross-referencing it with other partners that we have worked with to make sure that we had valid increases. As you know, this has been basically a year-long delay that we've experienced. We have seen an approximate 10% escalation in that year, so it's not surprising that we would have an increase to the GMP that is approximately 10% of the GMP that we had prior to this. Again, we have reviewed these, we've looked at it. There is some labor increase that comes with having, most of these are union jobs, and there's contractual increases. And then there are also increases that are related to cost increases that have been incurred, will be incurred, related to increases in cost for materials and other pieces that will go into the building of the project. I will note there's one
One item that we did not include in here because it's not yet known, the structural steel subcontractor for this project is contracted with Balfour, Beatty is not contracted with us. So we have a contract with Balfour, Beatty, and they have subcontractors. The structural steel subcontractor went out of business, bankruptcy at the beginning of this calendar year. They've got a replacement. They've come on. We are able to meet the needs of the project. It's not going to stop the project, but it has slowed some, and we didn't want to put in a large allowance without clear numbers. We preferred to, if there is a change, vet it and bring it back to the board. So that is the one area that we did not bring, we did not have as much clear information on, and therefore I'm just sharing with the board now because I don't have a strong number, and we didn't want to bring it as an unknown allowance. We wanted to, if there is a change that can't be absorbed by contingency, to bring it back to the board and explain what that change was and request approval if needed in the future.
Chris, remind me, I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but when's the last time you approved the GMP for this?
It was in early 2020. It's actually been here since good.
I'm just kind of curious as to how much it's increased in.
So it's January of 2022. So we're looking at about 14 months.
So 15 months, it's an additional $5 million. Okay. It's helpful to know just in case, looking forward to other potential delays if you're viewing on hills or whatever like that. Just kind of getting an idea of like what escalation costs are. So it sounds like it's like a year cost. Yeah, upwards of $5 million.
Well, on this, and the previous GMP was $56 million. So we were looking at $5.2 million, 5.3 in that range. We're looking at 8%, give or take. So a little under 10% of escalation on that.
There's nothing to do other than, this is it.
There's nothing, and I think that
Forward with the project.
Yeah.
Right. If we want to move forward with the project.
This is the cost to move forward with the project, yeah. And the other thing is, in this case, I appreciate that we went through the process with Balfour Beatty. Some of their subs came back with large numbers at first, but this is reduced from what the first numbers that we saw. We worked to get to what we could get to in the increase. In the end, if we did not move forward with this, we tried to redesign, the cost would go up considerably more again. So we're at a spot to move forward with the project. This is the cost to move forward with the project.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's disappointing, and this is kind of what we were talking about all through the process. And as litigation was occurring, we knew that costs would increase, and we're reaping the results of that now. And it's unfortunate for the community. It's unfortunate in the long run that there's less money available. So, is there any other questions or comments? Okay, if there's nothing, then is there a motion to approve the Delmar High School leaseback cost increase? Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Still interest for 9.4, board approval, notice of exemption for Delmar Hills Academy modernization project, and approval of the Delmar Hills Academy modernization project.
Thank you. So this evening, as I shared in the facilities update, the Delmar Hills Academy modernization project, as we have shared with the board and as designed, it's been reviewed related to CEQA. There are a number of exemptions from CEQA based on the fact that this is a project that we are building on the same footprint. It is a modernization, and so we have listed exemptions that apply. We have a notice of exemption, which is a form that we fill out and that I will sign as the CEQA officer for the district, and then we have an attachment, and that attachment is a supplemental information that explains the background on the project, what was reviewed, and what exemptions apply under CEQA. And so, based on our review, this project would be exempt. It would not require any mitigation. There is not an impact that needs to be mitigated because we have the same school on the same site with a modernization without any increase in student population. So we would recommend that the board approve and then file the notice of exemption and then approve the Del Mar Hills Academy modernization project.
Questions? I have a quick one, but forgive me for being wary. Those we heard the same, very similar situation, and we had a huge amount of litigation for Del Mar Heights. Do you think that this one, are there any kind of potential roadblocks here with regarding that?
I don't see why this would not be exempt. I mean, anybody who has
And to be clear, like everything was
found
to
not
be
be significant without litigation.
It was exactly as you stated it was from the beginning.
And so I think that in the state of California, CEQA is used at times as a way to try to stop projects. This is not a project that it makes any sense whatsoever to go through the process of an environmental impact report when we are, in this case, there is no redesign. There is no change in population. There's no reason whatsoever that you would go through a more robust, because an environmental impact report is written because there is an impact that we have identified that we then needs to deal with. There is no impact to the environment based on this project. And so I say all that because could somebody come up with some theory and reason why and try to throw a kink in the project? They may be able to, but I don't think it will be a legitimate reason.
Okay. Yeah, I do believe that that's the case. I also thought that was the case back then, but you know, I was surprised with some things. But
we can't tell the future, so
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I appreciate the notes. Is there any other questions or comments about it?
all of approval.
Well, just a clarification with the expenditures in this project, how much remains in them?
So with Measure MM, we have $64 million and $55 million, and we have approximately $60 million remaining in the, that has not been pulled. We have approximately $19 million, which you'll actually see remaining in the Series C. So we have somewhere in the range of $80 million remaining. That's with us encumbering Del Mar Heights. So we, somewhere in the range of $80 million.
Is it after Del Mar Heights?
Is that after the 5 million plus the lease, whatever it's called?
I'd have to double check to see if the 5 million is in the budget presentation we have or not. So 75 to $80 million.
So regardless of the price, given the price ranges you've given us previously for the Del Mar Hills modernization, regardless of whether it's phased or not, there are sufficient funds left in the bond to pay for it.
Absolutely.
So approval? Second? All right. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. And we are at 10.1, board review and adoption of the 2023-24 proposed budget for all district funds. Chris and Tiana, thank you.
Thank you. Again, Governing Board President Mock, members of the board, and Superintendent Clerk. This evening we are bringing the 2023-2024 proposed budget. I'm here with our Director of Fiscal Services, Ms. Tiana Barton, who has done an exceptional job in putting together the budget and in working through and supporting the work of the district to bring this to you tonight. In this presentation, we will go over the vision, mission, and budget development. We always budget looking at the vision and mission of the district. We'll look at our general fund summary. We'll look at our local reserve requirements and what we are holding reserves on our multi-year projection. And then we'll do a looking ahead as well as our other funds at the end. So our vision and mission on the budget development are really what we budget for, as I said. Our students and what will allow them to be successful. And so we start with students in front of you because that is what we're focused on in developing our budget. You all know our vision and mission, and really the unrelenting pursuit of the extraordinary school experience is what drives the focus on expenditures and how we use the funds we have in our district. During the budget development process, we developed based on now our new strategic plans, Destination 2028, our local control accountability plan. And so those are the big pieces that we look at. These are the pieces that we are funding and trying to build a budget to support the next steps of the district. We also are looking to maintain a fiscally sound reserve balance for a community-funded district, knowing that we are a community-funded basic aid district, and continued commitment to that proactive fiscal planning that we speak to each time we budget. And then we always strive to communicate the budget to all stakeholders so that they can understand the process and what we are budgeting for. So first we'll look at our general fund summary. When we look at revenues, the revenues are flat from the first read. So we shared last month at our first read that we are budgeting for $74 million in revenues, and we continue with the proposed budget that will be $74 million in revenues. As we look at those revenue assumptions, you can see we have our property tax at 4%. We've got deferred maintenance Fund 914 transfer, and so we've continued to commit to transferring money to deferred maintenance, knowing that as we move through the bond program and look to maintaining those projects once we're done, that we'll have funds to be able to do that in the long term. We also have decreases in the arts, music, instructional materials block grant and the learning recovery block grant. This is a cut that was in the governor's proposed May revision. For our district, the impact is $1.7 million for those two. There is a different proposal that we'll speak to a little bit from the Senate and Assembly, so we will be looking at what is the final number that comes from that. And then we're budgeting for state aid. It's budgeted at almost $1.2 million. And we keep the note up here that we used to get more state aid, but there's a $2.5 million basic aid reduction, which occurred during the recession and is still reduced from that. And then finally, we have the education protection account that's budgeted at $750,000 based on our 3-year average P2 ADA, which is $3,800, and we get $200 per ADA, which is our average attendance, daily attendance. Then looking at our revenue summary pie chart, as you can see, the bulk of our revenues come from the LCFF sources from our property taxes. We are also budgeting the $1.1 million from the foundation. And you will note that we have the STIRS on behalf contribution of about $3 million that you'll see in the revenue, and we also have an offset where it passes through and is recognized in expenditures as well. Looking at our expenditure summary, we have a couple of minor adjustments from the first read, but we still have the same overall expenditures at just over $74 million, which you'll notice is the same number we had for our revenue. We have a balanced budget that we're bringing to the board. And as we look at our expenditure assumptions, we have our math curriculum adoption that we are planning for. We have the $1,000 increase to the health cap, which is part of negotiations. That starts July 1st, so that is now new to the budget. Civic Sky School Central Kitchen and taking that all in-house. We are also looking at social emotional